All right. Well, welcome everyone. And so we would love for this group to tell us about given that you have the option to attend many different professional meetings, what keeps you coming back to Division I?
Thanks, Bridget. I'll begin. My name is Yoon Park. I'm currently at the Massachusetts General Hospital and also at the Harvard Medical School. And within Division I currently serve as the vice president. And for me, in response to your question, I think ARA and Division I really provide a wonderful venue to interact with highly qualified researchers that span multiple professions, not only in the medical area, but also in law, engineering, and many others that I've over the years really enjoyed interacting, and really the creativity and the scholarly depth that has actually been investigated in one field, and we get to appreciate, we get to also in some sense borrow from other scholars in different areas. So that's what I've really enjoyed doing. I started my visits to ARA with Division D, and also, which is the methodology division, and also with NCME, which is the measurement unit. But also, I think the Division I, there are many psychometricians and many people who do assessment work in Division I, that there's this unique area of scholarship that isn't necessarily part of Division D or part of NCME, but is really unique to Division I. And I think the beauty of having interactive discussions across multiple colleagues is what brings me back to Division I. And one last thing I'd also mention is I know a lot of us do participate in our own professional meetings, whether it's the medical meetings or pharmacy meetings. And the reason why I do come back to ARA is because we can really enjoy the depth of scholarship. I don't need to worry about somebody telling me that I need to, make it much more general to the medical audience, for example, but because this is an audience that appreciates the depth in psychometrics, for example, or the depth in assessment. And so, so that would be my response to your question.
Great. It sounds like it's been a good home for you, Yoon. Toni, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. I'm delighted to share my story, which is a little bit of a reflection of kind of like Division I, in that I've been all over the place. I started my career in the field of education, in teacher education actually, and eventually through my work working with adults, I morphed into working with adults who work in the health professions field. And so when I started ARA many years ago, I was in Division K, and I actually founded the SIG for professional development schools at that point. As I became involved with some medical education work, I started to look around for a place where I could connect with scholarly people in this arena. And I found through ARA that this division had people that were interested in those kinds of things. So I dabbled in that a little bit. My career changed and I went into a school of business. And after several years of being in a school of business, I then, where I worked on education in business, then I came back to work in the field of medical education. And when I came back, I was really looking for like-minded scholars. And I went to all the medical conferences trying to find where was my home. And I always felt like I really wasn't at the center of that because my background was as an educator. But when I found Division I really felt I was home. I felt I was home because the people, first of all, were very welcoming. They were very accepting of the various perspectives that people had and the various experiences that people had. Like Yoon, I really appreciated having multiple perspectives and multiple views of how to do things. And I found some awesome colleagues in Division I as I was trying to develop the work in my field. It was great to be able to talk to people, and people who had names that I had seen in the literature and kind of admired, they actually talked to me. And I thought, this is really awesome. So I come back to Division I because I feel like I'm home. I feel like I have friends there. I have colleagues. I have people who inspire me as a scholar. And I just really I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be connected in this community.
Well, we're really glad to have you too, Toni. You've added so much, and we're really looking forward to having you lead us as the program chair next year. So thank you.
We'll see, huh?
And Erika, how about you?
My name's Erika Abner. I'm trained as a lawyer. I have been involved in legal education and policy work for most of my career at all levels of legal education, including teaching in a law school, teaching in being a faculty member at the Ontario Bar Admission course, and also being the director of continuing legal education at one of the major law firms in Canada. I started coming to Division I in the late 90s when I was working on my doctorate in higher education at OISE UT. And I think I came mostly because at that time, there were many medical education people involved in my program. And my thesis supervisor was a big proponent of AERA. And I just stayed. And like Yoon and Toni, it really did start to feel like home. So I thought of three reasons why Division I for me as a lawyer. First of all, that listening to how other professions work and manage issues illuminates one's own profession. For example, and I should have said, I also have been working in medical education for the past about 15 years. Since I finished my doctorate, most recently, I have been the faculty lead for ethics and professionalism at the University of Toronto's Temerity Faculty of Medicine. So I crossed two professions. So being inside medical education illuminates legal education for me. And when I go to AERA Division I have a way better understanding of what the differences are and why they might be happening, and how you can cross from one profession and fertilize with another. And for example of that is accreditation. So we have pretty limited accreditation in legal education, and I contrast that with the really intensive accreditation in medical education, and you start to ask the question, so why is one profession so different from another? And what could we borrow from one profession and bring to another? And would it work? And why wouldn't it work? And those kinds of questions. The second reason is that when I go to AERA Division I, I'm always learning about new ideas in research, how to do research, how to think about research, what is bias, all those interesting issues. About 5 years ago, I went to a fantastic section on social network analysis. It was just so inspiring. And then the third reason is, I always get connected to the broader ideas in education. I find medical education and legal education can be quite insular. They don't actually look necessarily outside their own profession as much as they could. And they're not necessarily connected to the big theorists. And that's always happening in Division I. There's always that connection to the broader theories. So there's a historical connection. There's an understanding of how ideas and theories change over time. I think that's really important because so much of what we do is dialectic. And so those are my thoughts about why Division I.
Thank you so much. Really wonderful to hear from all of you and to hear about what Division I has meant for you. So thank you so much.